Guys, it's your favorite Dinobot here, and today we're going to talk about what if Godzilla was in the one of the most goated monster series on TV, at least back in that time. Because I mean, geez, Bakugan was such a good series. Like, I still got the Bakugan toys in my dresser drawer right now. I'm definitely gonna have to get a holder soon because I'm about to go back to collecting them pretty soon. I hope that I got some good taste still because this new series is it's kind of it's kind of iffy in my opinion. But what if Godzilla was basically in this verse here? Now there's a couple things we got to look at. Number one being sentience. Godzilla is fully sentient, like to the point where he can talk in this kind of series here. So that's obviously something we have to look out for. Next up, we have to look up the attributes and kind of how he fits into that universe. Because again, these Bakugan rely on their respective attributes to pretty much carry them through their battles. Drago's Pyrus, Hydronoid is Darkest, Tigrera is Chaos, Skyrus is Ventus, Praeus is Aquas, and Gorum is Subterra. Yeah, but then there are Bakugan who simply don't have elements, and then Bakugan who simply are just beyond the concept of their elements, like the Ancient Six. And then later down the line, the Bakugan who beat them in the first series, and then the ones that they gave them to in the second series. So again, long story short, there's a lot of cosmology to the Bakugan story here, and the sheer fact that Godzilla would be in this verse actually begs the question: what would he basically be in this kind of series? Godzilla, based on the attributes here, he could fit all of them. You know, Godzilla could definitely easily could fit Pyrus, Darkest, and Chaos. You can even argue Subterra and Aquas. The only one he might not fit is Ventus. But then again, Godzilla is extremely adaptable. And if we gave him like the Shin Godzilla gene, I mean, well, it's Godzilla in general. So obviously Shin Godzilla is a part of him. Godzilla can simply adapt to any of these elements if he's just thrown in there. And then boom. Look at him. Just look at him. He's what? He's just he's just this type of being here. But I think I know a way where Godzilla could pretty much fit into this Bakugan verse with literally no difficulty. Now, for starters, element, he probably wouldn't need it. There are beings and Bakugans in the verses here who are pretty much just without attributes or elements, if you will. Naga and Wyvern are prime examples of it. And then it's just a sheer fact that they don't need it because they already possessed two of the most infinite powered structures in the Bakugan verse, the Infinity Core and the Silent Core. Okay? So if you really think about it, Godzilla should be able to have the power of the Infinity Core and possibly use it to its full potential, as that was actually one of the original writings for Bakugan in the original series. The fact that Drago, was supposed to use the basically use the power of the Infinity Core and use all the different attributes, meaning he could basically use all these different Bakugan moves, but unfortunately Spectra kind of messed that up, and it just eventually, coincided with Drago almost dying here. So again, it's just, it didn't go the way it wanted to. But I think I know a way where Godzilla can fit in the verse, like I said earlier. So in the beginning, there were Genesis Darachnoid and Genesis Dragonoid. These guys will go on to create the Bakugan universe, or if not, multiverse. Because there are Bakugans on Gundalia, Bakugans in Nethia. There's Bakugan across the cosmos, I'm betting. Okay? These alternate dimensions and all that good stuff here. So one day, Darachnoid, or the first Darachnoid, decides to create a Bakugan of unparalleled power. Something to kind of keep in failsafe just in case the Ancient Six got out of line. This Bakugan would be known as Godzilla. Now you might say, okay, why would he create Godzilla? And I was just, and again, like I said earlier, it will be a failsafe. But eventually, Godzilla will have enough of how his creators look upon his, upon the people of Bakugan. And basically he would kill Genesis Dragonoid and Genesis Darachnoid. This would then cause the Ancient Six to kind of start a war, if you will. It would be those who side with the old ways of Genesis Dragonoid, and then those who would side with a new era under the rule of Godzilla. This war would be waged with the Ancient Six and the Nonads. Considering the Nonads were basically older than Drago, even being able to be, well, they actually met first form Drago. Matter of fact, any form of Drago before the last series, they would have straight up mollywopped him. Yeah, that's how bad it would have been. These guys were just way above any form of Drago, including the one that possessed the Infinity Core, basically having infinite power. So yeah, these guys would be waging war with the Ancient Six, and while the Ancient Six basically had these weapons on their side, Godzilla would give his troops an ability that would rival these sort of battle gear like Bakugan. And I think battle gear and Bakugan traps would be invented during this war so that Bakugan can essentially help each other, but they would play an artillery role. Pretty much Bakugan that were basically meant for artillery support. And then Godzilla would basically give his troops or his followers the ability to fuse with each other. So this would give the Bakugan lore and abilities to fusion a lot more clarity. A lot more than just, it's just something that just happened or is just thrown into the series. Because don't get me wrong, that was cool, but at the same time, really wish it had some explanation. So during this war, he eventually is approached by Apollinaire, who decides that he's kind of had enough of following the old ways. And this is when Grimlock grants Apollinaire his true form. This is when Godzilla grants Apollinaire his true form. My bad. He grants Apollinaire his true form, and then he grants it to the Ancient Six, who now turn and then preach the word of Godzilla to the rest of the Bakugan followers. By the time the first series comes out, the Ancient Six and Godzilla would have faded into myth and memory, and the Nonets would be known as legends throughout the Bakugan realms. Okay? Godzilla would have been living in peace and harmony until Naga decided to grab the Infinity Core. He would have actually, he would have tried to grab the Infinity Core because Godzilla would have been in a long-term stasis after creating such a perfect world. He would have gone to sleep, seeing nothing would happen. This means that Naga would grab the Infinity Core and the series will resume as normal, but Drago, at the end of the series, would return the Infinity Core to Godzilla. And I think this would have caused a lot to go down in the long term. I mean, imagine the Nethian and Gundalian War being based on the followings of Godzilla and the Genesis. Okay? Imagine how some people would feel in it causing to turn sides against each other. You may even see Nethians and Gundalians working together, right? To basically, prove whose side is better. You would have the followers of Genesis and the followers of Godzilla. These guys would basically be going back and forth for so many years just because they can't settle or accept that one believes in the other. And I think that'd probably be a little too realistic, but at the same time, it would be interesting to see, instead of the final battle being Drago against Drago against Darak, we got Drago against Godzilla, to which he kind of just bows into submission. He's realizing he can't really do anything about it, so he just doesn't have a clear-cut way to win. We can see him use all this battle gear and then still just have nothing to answer Godzilla's just overwhelming might and power. And eventually this would lead to Drago ending up submitting and Dan pretty much losing because he realizes that his Bakugan, they have their own following. They have their own religion the same way humans do in sorts, So again, it really would be interesting to see how Godzilla would change up this verse. Now you might say, Legendary, wait, what about the Mechagon? Well, I would have to say the same way Megatron X went about it in Transformers Cyberverse. You see, Megatron X created Tarn, or at least Tarns, that were the perfect Decepticon soldiers, beyond anything he had ever dreamed of. It's basically what he had dreamed of entirely. So basically, what if these Mechagon were basically Godzilla's version of the perfect Bakugan, including the likes of Mectavius? They were basically these perfect Bakugan that, were completely loyal to him, were essentially indestructible, all powerful, made of this ultra rare metal called Mectanium, which actually should have been a thing in the series, because I don't see a point in creating the ultimate Bakugan and pretty much making these Bakugan machines here without adding Mectanium. So in all honesty, considering the sentiency, the attributes, and all the artifacts that Godzilla would pretty much had to, claim in the series and pretty much could be able to hold and wield here, Godzilla could change the Bakugan world in so many ways. Pretty much it would be his playground, and essentially they would be his children. But hey, that's all for today. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.